Welcome to the Blue Flag F1 podcast with me, your host Jelmer, and my fellow host Justin. We will be sharing our limited knowledge and plentiful opinions on the Formula One news of yesterday or last week. It seems we have been lapped once again, Justin.
Thank you, Jelmer, for having me here. And yes, we have been lapped yet again. This time, quite literally, because we're behind our upload schedule. Now, are we?
Yeah, we're 4 days behind.
Yeah, man. The Mercedes took so long to overtake us. We had to wait for 4 days.
The only thing I can say is like Mercedes, we were pretty late to the testing
Yes.
every single time, so yeah.
Yeah.
This time it might actually have worked out. We got to watch the entirety of testing before
Yeah,
making the
that's true.
podcast, since we were planning to do only discuss one part of the testing the first day.
Mhm.
And yeah, if we did that, then we couldn't have discussed Mercedes at all. So
That's true. That's true. You're saying good stuff there, right there.
so now that we have officially arrived at testing, we went past testing. We can actually do something that we promised to do last time,
Yes,
and
indeed.
that's rating all the liveries that are now public since
Yes.
Ferrari released theirs, the last one.
Yeah,
So the missing piece of the puzzle.
that's true.
And let's start with your number one pick,
My favorite livery.
your favorite livery.
Okay. So my favorite livery would still be Williams. I really like the blue and the graphical design of the car itself. I think it's really good. And every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. My number two would be the Aston Martin. The only reason it's not number one is I don't like the pink that much. Um, that may be a bit weird, but they had a version with the yellow stripes instead of the pink stripes, and I think that one was just a bit better. Then I would say I think Alpha Tauri is also pretty good. I really like the dark blue, and the white design they have. I also like their clothes, but I'm a student, so I can't buy those stuff. Um, yeah, it's really difficult. I think most of the liveries in between are okay, but then you've got the ugly ones. I think the most ugly one is Ferrari with their green
Yeah, but
green mission
we need a
window.
fourth, Justin. We do need a fourth. Who do you
At
put
least a
fourth?
fourth.
After we're
Uh,
gonna actually rank them. So
we're
we
actually
currently
gonna
have
rank them.
number one Williams, number two
Yeah,
Aston Martin, number three Alfa Tauri for you.
yeah, okay. All right, I got you. So mm, I think Alpine Racing is also pretty decent. It's a good-looking toothpaste, which is driving around in circles.
Bulky as a mother.
So that's my top four. You may finish it if you want.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think I put Williams. I would put Williams number one.
I know, right?
I think I would actually put Alpha Tauri second
Ah,
and Aston Martin third.
okay.
Um, After that, I would put Alpine.
Alpine.
I think fifth, I would put Mercedes
Uh-huh.
because they did try something new.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that the like I
They can't
really like
design.
the gray part, right, and
Yeah.
the gray black. Uh, but I really dislike the inclusion of red. Um, but the light blue combo that looks awesome. So that's why I think I would put Mercedes fifth.
Okay.
Um, then sixth, I would put McLaren.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Um,
orange is always
Orange,
good.
it's always a good looking color. Seventh, in this case, I would put Haas because they did change it up. although it's still a
Flag.
Russian
Yeah.
car. It's fine. Um, eighth. Who do we have left?
Yeah. So we've got Red Bull and
Red Bull.
Ferrari, I think.
Yeah, I would say Red Bull
Yeah. It's so.
eighth because I always liked the Red Bull, but they just didn't change anything. It's the same old Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I think the same goes for for ninth. Uh, with the Alfa Romeo,
Yeah. Well,
and I
they
would
switched it up. That's all.
and I would say 10th is Ferrari
Yeah.
because they
I've,
try to switch it up and they just failed miserably.
well, my theory is that someone at Maranello was like, "Oh, we need some color and something else than red," and then by accident they splashed a frog and they put it on the car. They were like, "Ah, shit, we can't change it."
It's
And then
literally the
yeah,
same livery as last year, but then with the black thing, it's now green.
yeah. There was one thing I liked about the Ferrari, and that's the fact that the back of the car has the
The
dark red
burgundy, yeah, the
version of
burgundy.
the burgundy version. If that would be the main color of the car, I would have
Yeah,
absolutely loved this.
that would be really dope.
Yeah,
But
but they
now
didn't.
it just reminds of us of what could have been,
Yeah,
and I think that's the sad part, right?
I think that's really sad. Yes, but yeah, that's it. That's
Okay,
how life
so
goes.
then for any viewers, I should say listeners, who are listening. So our list now is number 1 Williams, number 2 Aston Martin, number 3 Alpha Tauri. On fourth we have Alpine, then fifth we have Mercedes, sixth we have McLaren, on 7 we have Haas, we have Red Bull as eighth, Alfa Romeo is ninth, and Ferrari is 10th. And we will be discussing the first 5 teams of this list when it comes to testing this week.
Yes.
And since we are only racing in 2 weeks, we will be discussing the next 5 teams in the episode that's probably gonna be released Saturday, because
Yes.
this is gonna be released on Tuesday.
Someday.
It's gonna be released Sunday, but it's gonna be on YouTube the 16th, because then I'll probably have it done. So the next episode, that's already something to look forward to. If someone is listening, I don't know if anyone is listening, but we're doing this for fun, so it doesn't really matter. But the next episode is gonna be, I hope, online the 20th or the 21st of March.
Yes.
But let's get into the first team we will be discussing when it comes to testing, and that's Williams.
Yes. Well, first of all, I think the Williams, they had good reliability. 2 seasons ago, obviously they were too late to the testing, missing out on 3 days, which would have been catastrophic at this testing, because obviously it's just 3 days, and 2 years ago it was 8. But they had a lot of mileage under the belts, and also, for example, the last day, George Russell, I believe he was driving about 140 laps, which is mega for Williams. I think they've got a lot of information and data to look into, and the car itself, I think, yeah, I think the problem is obviously the balance of the car and the aerodynamics, because obviously the Mercedes engine is the best there is, but the car looks stable. They didn't do weird stuff, so I think they got an okay package, but I think they'll still be 9th or maximum 8th in the championship. I think Haas and Alpha could, no, yeah, Haas and Alpha could be their contenders, but I think it's going to be Formula 3 yet again for them this year.
I think this year's recovery year.
Yeah.
I think if they get data, it's very nice, but I think it's all about next year for them. I don't think
Yeah.
this year really matters. If they are if they made improvements when it comes to last year, they might be they might be fighting for that eighth spot or anything,
Yeah.
as opposed to I think they lost or was Haas last year?
No, it was Williams last year,
Yeah, I
then
think so
Haas,
too.
and then Alfa Romeo.
So I think they might be fighting for that eighth spot.
Yeah,
I feel because I think Haas will definitely be last.
yeah, I'm afraid
Uh,
so.
um, so yeah, when it comes to Williams and testing, I think they just did their job,
Hmm.
But when looking at everything else, they didn't bring anything spectacular like other teams did.
Yeah,
On this list, they didn't have anything revolutionary. It's just it's a better Williams than last year. They got a lot of mileage, as you said, so that's good. Uh,
yeah,
we'll give them some leeway to test certain things on the computers back home,
yeah,
and we'll see in the first race. I think.
yeah,
Hopefully for them, they I think definitely they will be able to beat Haas, and hopefully for them they will be able to beat the Alfa Romeo.
yeah. Speaking of which, I think the next one is Haas.
No, no, no. Well, to be fair, we could discuss Haas, but we could also leave them for next week because we're discussing the top 5 of our liveries teams right
Ah,
now.
it's top
So we're going
five.
to Aston Martin actually.
Ah, yeah, that's true. Well, I'm surprised by the bad reliability they had, because Vettel lost out on so much track time. I think, obviously, all the eyes were on Mercedes, but Vettel in both sessions he could have driven had problems. He had a turbo issue, and I think he had an engine issue. So, which is obviously not very nice when you're going to a new team and trying to learn all the procedures and your steering wheel and the car itself, obviously, because an Aston Martin is not the same car as a Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Yeah, so and yeah, Lance Stroll, I don't think he's that big of a genius in setting up the car and talking to engineers. So I don't think they don't have a good test this year. I think it's really poor what they've shown. And yeah, by the look of things, I think McLaren will be ahead of them, and I think they'll be fighting with Alpine for P4 and nothing more than that.
Yeah, I think as opposed to last year, they definitely regressed.
Yeah,
Um, they wanted to build a separate team identity as opposed to like last year, which was obviously a clone of the Mercedes of the previous year.
yeah,
They wanted to like separate themselves from that identity. So they did take over a few Mercedes parts, but not as much as they did the previous years. Even though I think technically some stuff was still legal, right? Because they could have taken certain parts because they took last year's parts,
yep,
and they decided to decline that offer. So I think it may come back to bite them in the butt, as they say.
in the butt.
But yeah, well, I do think McLaren is definitely ahead of them. Um, I think McLaren. Real quick thing, we'll be discussing them at length next week. But real quick, yeah, and they've made much more visible progression than I think Aston Martin did.
Yeah, I think they did.
Um, but to be fair, then to Aston Martin, right? This is kind of soft reboot of the team. They are expanding now with the new money of Aston Martin. They are building new complexes.
That's true.
So it might be if there's any year to have a soft reboot, it's this year, right? It's
Yeah,
the last remaining
yeah,
year with these regulations. We'll be switching it up in 2022. So I can't be too mad about it, but they did have a week testing. I
yeah,
didn't see him out on track that much.
yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, it's always difficult to analyze testing because the teams have so much more data than we have, and they know what to look for, and we as just spectators, can just guess and grasp in the air of things. Obviously, Mercedes didn't look that well, but you know, the chance is there that they'll take a 1-2 in 2 weeks' time, and Red Bull could perhaps be
Oh, we
free.
can we can
Yeah.
dive into Mercedes real quick because
Ah,
they are the fifth on the livery list, so
that's true.
we can discuss them this week. Yeah, let's just go into Mercedes, which is
Yeah.
another team like Aston Martin, which had a lot of reliability issues.
Yeah, I think I think Toto Wolff was not happy. I think he was really not happy. I
It,
think he's
I think that he said after the first day that they couldn't have any more days like it, and then they had 2 more days
yeah.
like them. So yeah, it wasn't very good to see, you know.
No, I'm really surprised. I think it's also a bit of arrogance, obviously, because you know you're the team to beat, and why need to do a shakedown? Just pack the thing in and go there just to save a little bit of money. But yeah, I think it's not good. Obviously, um, they should have did a shakedown that would have solved so much problems which they are now encountering, and well, how you're going to solve them in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, last year when the coronavirus broke out, they told us in Australia that they had a bit of luck because they would now have 2 or 3 months the time to think about the problems and try to solve them, which is now obviously is not the case anymore. In 2 weeks' time, they need to be there and they need to perform. And if they're not performing, they might lose the championship for the beginning stage because Red Bull has a better car at that time.
Yeah,
But
and that to be completely fair, right? Um, I think they will recover. I think they will recover fairly fast. But I
yeah,
think the
obviously.
problem is that if Red Bull has the faster car at the beginning due to these faults in the Mercedes that are currently there, we know that Red Bull is very good at figuring out the car and
Hmm.
making it really good later in the season. So
Yeah.
if the Red Bull already is ahead, even if it's by a small margin, right?
Hmm.
We've seen that Red Bull can progress much faster in terms of making the car even faster because they figure out mistakes a lot better than we've seen Mercedes. But to be completely fair to Mercedes, they haven't really needed to do anything, right? Because they've
No.
been so monstrably ahead of the rest of the teams that they didn't need to catch up to anyone. So
Yeah.
maybe Mercedes does, and I think they do. I think they do have the capabilities to catch back up very quickly. But there's always the hope that
Yeah.
Red Bull is now ahead, because even if it's just to take a championship away from Mercedes, I think it will deliver because Mercedes will still fight. Right? They will
Yeah.
still fight back. So I am just hoping for an actual title fight this year. Would be
Yeah.
would
The,
be really cool to see a title fight between two
well,
not exclusive Mercedes drivers.
I'm afraid I'm well nearly sure that we'll see a Mercedes 1-2 in 2 weeks time. But you know, who knows? Maybe Red Bull did step up their game, or maybe Mercedes did go in the wrong way of developing their car and made a shit car. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah,
But
I agree. Right, I think we will see a strong Mercedes. I think they will be there in 2 weeks time, but let's be completely frank. If they do have the same problems, right?
yeah,
As they had at the 3 days of testing, they won't even be out for any free practice, right? Because they
that's
missed
true.
every single first hour of the testing periods in the last 3 days because the car wasn't ready, the setup wasn't ready. I still remember watching the first day of testing till the end with you, and then seeing pictures and scenes of the battery not being secured correctly
Yeah,
and it being roped off.
yeah. The battery had a warning at the end of the session, indeed. Yeah. Ah, I find it difficult. We'll see.
I think the car is very fast. I think the shakedown would have solved almost everything. That's just it.
Most
But
of the problems. Yes.
um, I think then it comes into place like the problems around are probably sandbagging right now for Mercedes. But I just hope that Red Bull did enough to actually have caught up a bit. But yeah, we'll know in the first qualifying.
Yes.
So let's actually move on to Alpha Tauri.
Yeah. I really like the car. I don't think it's going to be the quickest cars. I think the McLaren and the Alpine, no, not the Alpine. At least McLaren is ahead of the AlphaTauri, but Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly put in mastery laps. I think I saw their onboards and how they drove and what they did, and that car looked really solid. I think they did a good job there in Italy last winter. And I'm very keen to see what they're going to do. I think they could perhaps fight for P5 in the championship. And
Yeah,
I would really, really like to see Yuki Tsunoda drive because that guy has some immense talent in him.
I do tend to agree with you. I think they will actually be fighting with Alpine this season.
Yeah.
Who's our next discussion? But let's stay on AlphaTauri for a bit. Indeed. Um, yeah, I think the car looks really solid, right? They managed to incorporate I think the front suspension of the Red Bull of last year into a car which was not entirely designed for it, and the car looks just solid. Um, and the Honda engine right now looked solid as well. The
Mm-hmm.
amount of laps that both Red Bull and AlphaTauri put in without any problems, as opposed to like previous years, for example, with the Renault engine, where they couldn't even do a few laps without it blowing up. So it's hard to say. The engine looks good. I think that's a giant part of both teams' success right now. If the engine will deliver, but even if this is not representative of the reliability during the season, you got to imagine that the amount of data that they got for everything, like both teams, but especially AlphaTauri, like with the amounts of laps that Gasly and Sonoda were able to put in, the amount of data that everyone has to work with now is immense, right?
I think it's good. Yeah. I think they did a really well job for them. And well, we'll see where they end up in the championship, obviously, because that's the most important thing after all. Yeah, well, all teams kept their like cards really to themselves. Obviously, they didn't put all of it down yet.
Yeah, and that's entirely true.
So AlphaTauri was one of the teams I could not have seen that much, but what I did see was like a Yuki Tsunoda drive so many laps and performing quite well, and the same goes for Pierre Gasly as well. But yeah, it's really difficult to analyze with the few information we have. So
Yeah, that's always right. You know, we're doing this from like the content that we are provided. We don't have insider information or anything.
yes,
That's why
if
we
you're
have
a
our
Formula One
plentiful
team and you
opinions,
want
and
to
we have.
sponsor, you can always contact us.
But yeah. Well, I'm especially happy that they were able to put so many laps in just for
yeah,
that Honda engine, because that Honda engine is a question mark, because
yeah,
it is an engine that wasn't supposed to be here this year, which was moved forward because they're leaving
yep,
at the end of the year. So there's always that reliability issue
yeah.
that
It's
might be
incredible.
there, but the amount of data that they get running those engines, the muscle they have been an enormous help.
Yeah,
Uh, and let's then move on, because I think we're done with AlphaTauri, right? Because
yeah.
let's move on to Alpine. I think
Alpine.
the team AlphaTauri will be competing with this season.
You think?
I think so, yeah.
Interesting.
I'll give a little list. I think right now the top three teams are actually Red Bull, Mercedes, not in any specific order, but Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren. And
Okay.
4
Yeah,
Ferrari.
I think I might agree on that one.
And then I
I think
think
that's
next you might get Alpine and AlphaTauri fighting for the next spots.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree on that one. I think you're being absolutely fair.
But yeah, what do you think about the Alpine?
Well, first of all, thick. Um,
Thick it is. Thick.
the air intake and the engine body is really large compared to all the cars. Like the Mercedes and the Red Bull are really, really skinny. Not that thick, but the intake of the Alpine is like huge. It's like that huge airplane. I forgot the name of it, but yeah, Google huge airplane and you'll find out.
You mean a jet intake?
Yeah, I find it pretty interesting their tactic there, but
I
oh
think
well.
it's mostly pretty funny that they I think they drove with a reduced thickness concept
Yeah,
on the third day, and it still looked thick.
yeah. I was like, yeah, yeah, fair enough, mate. No, I don't know. The Alpine itself, I think it's an okay car. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not a title contender. I think Renault is on a good path, but not like a path to the top. But I think they're going to settle in the higher class of the midfield. It's not Renault, obviously, it's Alpine. Um,
Well,
but I don't think
they
they're
still have
ready
a
yet to
Renault
take the
engine,
fight.
so it's still
Yeah,
fine to
but
say.
they're not going to take the fight to Mercedes.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
they're
they're
going to.
solidly in the midfield, and I think they will stay solidly in the midfield, and that's where they will be. Um, there wasn't anything special about it. There wasn't anything special about the mileage that they did.
Well, they did a fair amount of it. I think also Fernando Alonso did a good job on his return to Formula One, obviously, because
That's true. That's true.
you're not always
Depending his
sure.
situation.
Yeah, you're not always sure if also someone who's been injured by a car accident, but especially someone who's been out of the sport for quite a time, if he could perform. But I think he did fair. He did well. So he did better than I expected, actually. So yeah, I'm quite happy
Yeah,
actually to see him drive around that much and having a smile on his face.
I think again, Alpine is one of those teams that needs this year not to do great, but to do solidly, right? Because if they
Yeah,
do solidly, they will be able to build on it next year, and
yeah,
next year they might be able to shake things up. Um,
yeah.
and I hope that everyone will be able to shake things up. It's much more interesting when you have 10 teams fighting for something than like just 2 teams, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I think that we went through every single topic that we wanted to do.
Yeah, I think as
So
well.
we will be discussing the last 5 teams next week. So that's McLaren, Haas, Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, and Ferrari. Um, and if you want to leave any comments, leave them in the comment section below. Share your fellow opinions or your own limited knowledge when it comes to Formula One. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.